Welcome back to the Grey Lounge. We intend to have some fun today. I am very much looking forward to spending time with our very special guest. Not before. We have checked out what's been happening in the last 24 hours.
Anything happened?
In the UK press.
Much
Not
happened?
a lot.
No, I didn't think so.
It is worth saying at this stage, Thursday, this is number 60-something.
No, 59.
La Liga resumes tonight, and our guest is with us to talk specifically about Spanish football.
Sevilla Betis.
Tonight, yeah,
Tonight,
Thursday.
Derby.
All of the games, all the time with us on beIN Sports, and the English Premier League, of course, resumes next Wednesday. Collision course, this is a headline from the Daily Mail today. PFA oppose the EFL salary cap plans, which they say will hit wages by 40%. It might, needs must.
But
we're in a different world.
Can I not say, is that not a good thing for the lower leagues, a salary cap? Surely.
Well, yes and no. Talk to those that have come up. Talk to Bournemouth, who spent big to come up. Talk to Villa, who spent big to come up. The dream, Andy, is always to be pursued by the clubs.
Yeah, I get that.
Probably recklessly in 9 out of 10 cases. Occasionally one comes. But yes, it's a long answer to I agree with you.
Yeah.
Martin Braithwaite couldn't get the kick of a football playing for Middlesbrough.
I know.
But now he's playing with Lionel Messi at Barcelona. Great piece today. Pete Jensen, the Daily Mail's Spanish correspondent. Really good operator, Pete. It's a nice piece today in the Mail. And Uriah Rennie headlined this piece, it should not be unusual to see a black referee. Correct. It shouldn't.
Agreed.
Absolutely not.
Agreed.
The Premier League, as it resumes, may give the nod. They're saying to Black Lives Matter on their shirts when football resumes. I see no reason why not. And Gareth Southgate talking passionately, we mentioned it yesterday, talking passionately about the lack of opportunity for black players becoming coaches.
Yeah.
Gareth, I've got an idea. Start appointing one or two.
Well, he should, yeah, that's fair enough.
Which is his gift.
Yes, it is his gift. He could have...
Through the pyramid at the Football Association.
Under 21.
No good just keep talking about it.
Well, I don't know if Gareth appointed, but was Noel Blake not a coach at
Noel
the 18s?
Blake had the 18s, I think, at one time, but doesn't anymore.
No, okay.
Premier League facing £1 billion black hole from the coronavirus pandemic, and Steve McManaman will not have pleased too many Liverpool fans.
Go on.
Discussing his belief that it won't be long now before Jurgen Klopp leaves Liverpool for Bayern Munich. Steve, if it's any consolation, I agree. But I think he'll need a break.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
I think...
Come on.
For the very same... We had this conversation, you and I, when Ronaldo left Manchester United, and you said to me, why? He's at the best club in the world. He was
No.
But the reason is because he went on to better what he'd done with Real Madrid. Now, Jurgen Klopp, Bayern Munich, yes.
Oh, come on. He's going to better what he's doing at Liverpool. Come on.
Bayern Munich.
Let me rest my case. Bayern Munich have just clinched, I know officially, their 8th Bundesliga title in a row.
Yes.
Tell me where the drive is for Jurgen Klopp.
To
win the Champions League?
Yes. To do something Guardiola didn't.
I'm not. I don't.
To go home to Germany.
He's too young for me to leave the Premier League with what it gives him.
What do I talk to you about? Modern day coaching, burnout, 3 years, 4 years maximum, and he's beyond that.
Well, listen, Steve might know something I don't.
Wait.
But yes, I get Bayern Munich. It's a massive club, but if he wants to test himself. He's not going to test himself anymore, but he's going to test himself a lot less. He's only ever going to test himself in Europe with Bayern Munich.
This will not please too many Liverpool fans. Bayern Munich, bigger club than Liverpool.
Oh, wow.
Marcus Rashford has become a PE teacher for CBBC. Nobody's had a good coronavirus lockdown. Nobody. We didn't want this. And you think about the consequences of what's happened down there. You can't use that phrase. But I think of all the footballers that have been busy during this period of time, he's been terrific. More than most, has been absolutely terrific.
He's been terrific.
The MLS will resume, they announced yesterday.
Really?
A league often described as Mickey Mouse down the years. Our guest today played in America. We'll discuss with him. Yeah. They're going to have a 54-game tournament at Disney World when they resume on July the 8th.
Shut up.
Everybody in one place. I promise you. Everybody in one place at the same time.
To be fair, Disney World's empty at the moment, so they might as well fill it with players.
Now, I want to get on to the subject of the World Cup, which once again is a good reason for our invited guest today. But I want to read this to you. Hugh McIlvenney.
Respected, like you.
Yeah. Talking about a decision in 1978 not to take Andy Gray to the World Cup. This.
I was just thinking, when you were saying 78, I thought, yeah, that's when I should have been at.
Yeah, well, this a piece that he was writing prior to the announcement of the squad. And I thank Colin McMasterchef for this. From his book, he's talking about the loss of McGrain and the possible loss of McQueen make it even more vital that other special men who are to hand should be sent to the line. Dalglish is such a footballer. He was speculating on Kenny. I think there was some suggestion he might not go. He was saying he has to go. One of the shrewdest and most insistent predators in the opposition penalty area, and he'll be a key figure in South America. His chances of being a decisive influence must be lamentably diminished by the absence of Andy Gray. McLeod watched Gray 5 times recently and says with some regret that the forward never once showed evidence of the killer touch that has convinced so many of us that he is the deadliest and most exciting of frontline players in the game today. This is Hugh. His physique over the last year or two has taken a bit of a battering, and his fitness has often been questionable of late, but despite that handicap, he's managed to score 20-odd goals this season, a total that represents on average about 3 years' work for Joe Jordan, the manager's first choice at centre forward. Yet Gray, unbelievably, was not even second choice. Ali McLeod says he's opted for Joe Harper because the little Aberdonian offers specific cover for Dalglish. He plays going towards the play like Dalglish rather than going the other way. Have I embarrassed you enough yet?
Yeah.
You've never heard this, have you?
No, I haven't. No. No. Not often well, as often you surprise me, but that's a belter today.
Yeah, he's talking about Joe Jordan. He said many people compliment his ability in the air, but it doesn't often come to much. What's left unsaid is that when Jordan breaks frequently, he does so with cumbersome predictability that sometimes the eclectic spontaneity given to the Scottish attack by Dalglish, Hartford and, let me finish, I've got to because it's just too good not to, and Johnston, thus by breaking left he clutters the space so thrillingly exploited by Hartford and the surging Johnston. That both he and Harper should have been preferred to Andy Gray is masochistic eccentricity, so says Hugh McIlvenny.
Well, he's one of the best writers I know, Hugh, so I'll accept that. Thank you, Hugh.
Extraordinary, that, isn't it?
That's, yeah. Well, let me tell you.
It doesn't make you feel any better that you didn't go.
Hugh was no more surprised than I was when I wasn't
masochistic
in that squad.
Eccentricity. Let's stay on the subject of the World Cup. I mentioned yesterday, our guest today, his contribution to football was recently placed in at, I think, top 10 of a poll, top 10 of big football moments across the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And no wonder. I am delighted, perfectly timed, because we want to talk about Spanish football as well as his own career, of course, to introduce Gerry Armstrong, the former Northern Ireland international, who rocked a country with the flick of his left, or was it right foot? No,
right foot.
Rocked a country in 1982 when Northern Ireland beat Spain. And we're still talking about it, Gerry, all these years on. Isn't that extraordinary as well?
Hi guys, yeah. Listen, it's been on the television last week for the first time in a little while, but over in Northern Ireland, people still talk about the occasion. It's not that often that Northern Ireland got to a World Cup. I think they'd been there in 1958. So 1982, we weren't even supposed to be qualifying out of our group because Portugal were in the same group as us. So we beat Portugal and qualified with Scotland. And yeah, it was a fantastic occasion. Every player wants to play in a World Cup final. And like everybody else, I was looking forward to it and happened to have a really good tournament and scored 3 goals. So good memories, mate.
Did that moment, Gerry, define your life, not so much your career?
Well, I think it did define my career and my life because, you know, Watford had just been promoted in 1982 and, you know, we had come up through the 4 divisions. Graham Taylor took him from the 4th to the 3rd and the 3rd to the 2nd. And then with myself and Pat Rice and another player, Les Taylor. And there was a couple of young lads who were developing at Watford at the time. One of them was called John Barnes on the left-hand side. He was pretty special at 17, 18 years of age. And Nigel Callaghan on the right wing. So these two were out-and-out wingers, but they worked really hard for the team. So they produced great crosses and got the ball into the box and scored goals as well. So there was Luther Blissett and myself and Ross Jenkins and we had and Kenny Jackett was the midfield player. He was a young lad as well and went on to be a big player at Watford and obviously manager as well. So that was the start of an era and I didn't realise it at the time, but when the World Cup came along in 1982, Watford had got me really fit before the World Cup. So I had a big impression in that World Cup and came back and then scored the first goal for Watford in top flight football against Everton, Andy.
I know. I was just asking Gerry then, why no involvement? What about the FA Cup '84?
He'd gone.
That's what I mean. Why?
I was gone.
Why did
well,
you
see,
went,
basically,
was that your choice to go then, Gerry? Yeah, because
yes,
just get promoted. You're back in the big time with Watford. Why leave?
Yeah.
Because Mallorca came calling, and I would walk to Mallorca to play football
Well, I'm not
like
talking
Gerry did.
a holiday destination, Richard.
I'm talking. No, I said to play football. It wasn't a holiday destination then, Gerry, was it?
No, they'd just been promoted. But what happened was about 6 weeks after the World Cup, Watford were top of the league. I think I'd scored 3 goals in the first 5 games, and everybody was sort of pleased and surprised because we had been tipped for relegation. And what happened then was, we were top of the league, and I jumped for a ball in training and landed on the outside of my ankle. I tried to land on one leg, and I went over on it and broke my ankle and my leg. One of those accidents. So that was me out for 3 months. And when I came back, I had a little bit to do towards the end of the season to help. Well, the final game of the season, we beat Liverpool 2-0. And Manchester United drew, I think, 2-2 away at Coventry. So as a result of that, Watford finished runners-up to Liverpool for the league. So it was a great achievement. And I had an opportunity to go to Spain. And I thought, I was 28, 29. I thought, you know what, I've got a couple of years left. Yeah. And they were offering me a lot more money in Spain. And I wanted to try something different. So I took the gamble. And I was probably one of the first, if not the first player to do that. Everybody was going to Italy. I went to Spain and signed for Real Mallorca.
Good. Actually, I think there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just it comes as a surprise that, when you leave a side that seems to be on the up. I mean, you must have thought finishing second to Liverpool, my goodness, it don't get much better than that for Watford. It surely can only get, maybe you think it can't get any better, but to then jump and go to Mallorca was a big, big decision for you, Gerry. It must have been.
It was a gamble, massive gamble, but my gut feeling told me it was definitely worth the gamble. And I thought I've got 2 or 3 years left to play. And I ended up going to Real Mallorca. But then another career came as a result of that because, I played for 2 seasons at Real Mallorca. I learned Spanish and I was familiar with the Spanish football. But Spanish football evolved after that. It changed quite a lot. And then an opportunity arose 25 years ago. George Best, who's a mate of mine, had said to me, Gerry, what are you doing this Sunday? Can you come up to Battersea Park and play in a 5-a-side tournament game? He said, it's for Channel 4. They want to do a documentary on small-sided games. And I'd just done my coaching badge a few years earlier, and it was all about how many touches you can get on the ball. And basically, it's better for younger players if they've gotten lots of touches on the ball, and it's better in a 5-a-side environment rather than at 11v11. So I went up and did the documentary, but guess what? George phoned me the day before and said, are you still okay for Sunday? And I said, yeah. And he said, I've got to tell you, he said, I can't make it. And I said, you can't make it. I said, what do you mean you can't make it? And he said, I can't make it. And I said, so who else is there? He said, well, at the minute there's only you. He says, can you get another 4? So I had to get 4 of the lads. Typical, I got 4 of the lads. And I got Kenny Sampson and a few of the boys to come in. And they met me and we did the 5-a-side bit for 15, 20 minutes. And then we were interviewed by the guy from Channel 4. And he said, George was telling me, he said, you played football in Spain. I said, I did. And he said, next week, he said, I'm working for Sky. And he said, we're going to do Spanish football. This is 1995, 96.
Yeah,
and I said, right. He said, any chance you would come on, he said, as a guest, because we know nothing about Spanish football. And I said, right, no problem. So I started my career. I did 22 years on Spanish football there. And that was through George Best.
By the way,
we remember well, Gerry. Don't worry about that. We remember well.
Gerry and I have the same thing in common.
No, Gerry could play.
No. We both played with George Best.
Oh.
I played with George at Wembley when he wore a Bristol City jersey prior to the Zenith Data Systems
there's a difference.
Cup final.
There's a difference.
No, the difference was, Andy, but by this, Gerry played with him in his prime. By this time, George had put a few pounds on, which meant I had to do a little bit extra to make up for his
deficiencies.
Deficiencies at this time.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's something that George always looked back on with pride and said.
He did. He said that to me once when
he
talked to me. He says, I don't know who was the best player. He says, Gerry or Kesey. But Gerry, talk to us a little bit about George. You made your debut with George. Is that right? At international level, the same team.
That's correct.
What
1977.
We hear lots of stories about George. I mean, Richard and I were fortunate enough to know him quite well as well, obviously with his connection he had at Sky with us. What was he like? What was he like as a person?
Loveliest person you could meet.
Yeah,
would do anything for you. A proper, great guy, great company. But again, we don't understand the demons and the problems he had when he was a star in the 60s. And this is the problem. There was no superstars. He was the first superstar, and he actually was the forerunner for the likes of Messi and Ronaldo now. You know, and then I remember coming to internationals. My first international call up, and George was obviously in the squad, and we were playing Holland in a World Cup qualifier in 1976-77. And I didn't actually participate in the game. I was on the bench. I was still developing. But George was the one that everybody wanted to watch. And his touch, and he had skills and ability. He was like a ballerina, because his body, he would go 45 degrees one way and you think he's going to fall over. And then you quickly, and the defender's going one way and he's going the other. And then you try and put your foot in and he'd slip it through your legs and he'd nutmeg you. And he'd go around you, and then once you've done it a couple of times, you stand off and go there. That's it. If you can stand off, and he
could you imagine,
Gerry,
could you imagine Bestie playing where Messi does now and being given the freedom to go and entertain? How good would that have been?
That's the whole talking point at the minute. I had a discussion with Glenn Hoddle a few weeks ago, and Glenn still thinks that Maradona is the best player he's ever seen. And I would say it's Lionel Messi at the moment. But I would argue if George Best was playing in the current climate where the tackles from behind are not allowed he's allowed to do the ability he's got, arguably, he was for 2 or 3 years arguably the best player in the world.
Well, no, I don't think it was arguably, Jerry. I think he was.
Pele,
I don't think there's an argument about that. I think he was.
To Pele, when Pele was at his prime, he said, no, not me, George Best.
Yeah.
George is better.
I mean, I agree. Listen, you got 1 or 2 shirts around and about. What are they? Where are you?
I'm in our studio stroke dining room. We've got this trophy here was voted best player in Ireland, and that was including the likes of Liam Brady and Frank Stapleton and David Leary, Pat Jennings, Sammy McIlroy, Martin O'Neill.
All right. We get the picture. There were a lot of good players.
Did Bestie give you that, Jerry? Did Bestie give you that?
He should have had one of these, though. That's the golden boot from 1982.
Whose was that, Jerry?
What about somebody who's scored all the shirts? A World Cup shirt, 1982. There's a Barcelona shirt up there. That's an England shirt that is swapped with John Barnes. And then we've got a Manchester United shirt. They're up there from Michael Carrick. And I've got a Turkish shirt down there. I've got all different ones. There's one there actually, Keezy. I'd love to show you. It was my shirt when we beat England 1-0. And I was assistant. Really? You like that one, Andy, don't you?
I like it very much, Jerry. It's my favourite, I think. It's my favourite.
I don't think we need to dwell on that too long, to be honest with you. Are you looking forward to your Spanish football coming back?
I am. I mean, it's a great show. Spanish football, technically, for me, and we had this when many years ago we used to talk about it. I always said Spanish football technically is the best league in the world. You know, the skill, the technique, and I think that's been proven by the number of star players who have left Spain and come to play at Manchester City and in the Premier League as well. But it's a great derby game tonight because you've got Sevilla against Real Betis. The atmosphere normally would be electric, but because it's behind closed doors, it's going to be quite strange. And I remember a lot of years ago there was a game I was asked to do for Eurosport in Rome, and I think Lazio were playing and they were suspended, they were banned, and there was no fans at it, and it was really strange.
Very
not having atmosphere. That's going to be the problem, and players. Home advantage could be taken away as a result of that, I think, and you'll see in the Bundesliga over the last few weeks, the results haven't always gone for the home team.
Jerry, let me tell you a quick story, and then you can react to it. Sat with John Toshak at Anfield many years ago, former manager of Real Madrid, as we know. San Sebastian, was he? Was it?
Real Sociedad.
Real Sociedad. And he talked to me about how we incentivize the opposition in big matches. Yes. We put a bundle of cash in the dressing room. And I said...
To win.
To inspire the opposition to win against a team
Correct.
that might be fighting you for a title. And I said, you what?
Yeah.
And he said, He said, oh, well, we probably better not discuss that too much. Now, recently, Javier Tebas, who's now the CEO of the Spanish League, has said, we need to cut this out, this system. Talk to us, Gerry, about that, how commonplace it was, and is it the case now that you are, or they are, indeed trying to change that system?
Well, one of the things that the Copa del Rey did was when you're all the top flight clubs, the first round, they were not allowed to be drawn at home because advantage was so strong. To go to the Nou Camp, to go to the Bernabeu, to go to Sevilla, to go to Valencia, the advantage they had with their home crowd meant that there was virtually no chance for the second division or the Segunda B teams to have any chance of winning. So they always said that the lower club would always have home advantage. And another way to look at it was they were going to get the money from the gate, which was going to help them out.
Hold on, Gerry.
So I could
Hold on, I can see where you're going. You're dancing around it. I'm not talking about the money from the home gate. I'm talking about if I'm Real Madrid and you're involved in a big game against Barcelona on the last day of the season, I'm giving you that to beat them. And it's commonplace in Spanish football, or it has been, hasn't it?
Well, it has been commonplace, and it still was up until recently. And I know a situation, obviously through my old club, Mallorca. They had played their last game of the season, and there was a team who had nothing to play for. But if they could get a draw out of the game, they would obviously qualify in the top four, which was going to put them into the Champions League. So they were quite right and allowed to say there is a case of money for you to win that match because there's no incentive for them.
It's extraordinary, Gerry.
I just think it's amazing that it
is, but that's always happened. They're giving them incentive. I'll give you an example. When my first year in Mallorca, I remember we played Barcelona and I scored my first goal against Barcelona, put us 1-0 up, and then Maradona took over and he just totally destroyed it. We lost 4-1 in Palma, and Schuster was playing in that team, and Carrasco and Migueli and Julio Alberto, they had a fantastic side and they beat us 4-1, and I thought we were just blown out of the water. But about 4 months later, we went to the Nou Camp to play them, and the president came in and he said, we had a bonus scheme. And he said to me, today it's going to be a double bonus, prima doble, which is double bonus. So that meant instead of getting 600 quid or 600, whatever it was, it probably was pesetas and all in those days, but it was doubling our bonus. And some of the players were not even, they weren't getting that much money, and they said, oh, unbelievable. And then a half an hour before kickoff, he came in and he went, prima triple, which is triple bonus. So the players were jumping up and down. This is Barcelona. And the thing is, the Barcelona players, they had a great squad, all the rest of it, but it was unbelievable for us. And we went out and we were 1-0 up with about 10 minutes to go. We played out of our skin. So the bonus system definitely worked. And we finished 1-1. It finished 1-1 draw.
The bonus system.
So that triple bonus was, thanks very much, Real Madrid. We'll do our best to beat Barcelona for you.
Gerry, talk to us about what you're doing now. You said, I'm in my studio. Why are you in a studio? And the purpose of that is what?
I started a company with a partner. X-Pro Management is the name of it. And we do entertainment and we do sport as well. And the sport obviously encompasses football, but it's not just football. We've connections with entertainment, with the likes of Snow Patrol. My wife is, her first cousin is Johnny Quinn, the drummer from Snow Patrol. I know all the guys. So I'm putting on, we were going to be putting on a concert at Windsor Park at the National Stadium. And they've never had a concert at the National Stadium, and they're keen to do that. And Snow Patrol were keen to be the first band to play there. But we're looking to bring in other bands in as well. And there's Ulster Rugby at Ravenhill, where our Kingspan, as they call it over here in Belfast, and they have a great stadium. So we're trying to do exactly the same. So we're entertainment, we're organising bands and things like that. So that's what we started off doing.
And you've got the Gerry Armstrong, is it blog? Where's your cameraman?
My camera woman, she's just sitting here in the background.
So if people
my daughter should call her.
If people want more of Gerry Armstrong, where do they find you?
I'm in Belfast, and we've been developing our program over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, and it's gone really well. we've got audiences in Australia and Singapore. We have them in Canada and America. There's a big following, and supporters and obviously fans are following us from everywhere.
You sound like beIN Sports, Gerry. We
Yes.
too broadcast to every corner of the world. But it's been a privilege to spend time with you, my friend. Thank you very much. Great to see you still smiling.
Listen, thanks very much, guys. Great to talk to you. I'll have to get you on the show sometime.
Yes, Gerry, you just let us know. Only too happy, Gerry.
Our pleasure. It would be an absolute privilege to do so. Enjoy your Spanish football.
Man.
Great to talk. Thanks, Gerry.
Thanks, Gerry. Take care, pal.
What a good guy.
Bye.
Yeah,
what
terrific.
a good guy.
Terrific.
Really is. And I repeat that the Spanish football, of course, returns to beIN Sports screens Thursday. And each and every game, I believe, from this point, Andy, live, as is the case with Premier League football, EFL.
Correct.
I mean, it's
You
all
name
back, Bundesliga.
Will you find a minute on a sports channel without a live match on, I wonder?
On our sports channel?
Any sports channel.
Well, I think there'll be few, Andy. I mean, it depends in which part of the world you are. You've got to pick up 2 or 3 different subscriptions. Here one,
just the one.
ours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've got my route map planned out.
Hugh McIlvenney, I'll give you that.
Yeah, please, that's extraordinary. Aye.
That is a nice keepsake, isn't
It
it?
is a nice keepsake. He was a good judge of football of you as well, actually, to be fair.
Who went instead of you? Joe Harper.
Joe Harper.
And
they took, if I remember rightly, that was the World Cup, they took Gordon McQueen and his leg in plaster. He had a big operation.
but they don't say plaster in Scotland, do they?
Stookie.
Stookie.
He had a full stookie on.
Did he?
And yet he went up the plane with his crutches, thinking, why is he going? We're only going to be there a week. Normally. Do you know what I mean? Normally that was it.
Normally, I should have said that.
But no, Ali went there full of bravado, didn't he? We're going to win the World Cup,
Yes.
you know, and he went there banging the drum, and we all thought it was a wonderful opportunity.
Right.
But it wasn't.
Thank you for your company. What day is it? Thursday? Wednesday?
No, Thursday.
Thursday. We shall be
Final
back
show
with the
tomorrow.
last in this series tomorrow with Arsene Wenger. And he will be asking many questions about football going forward from this point. In the meantime, thank you for your company today on beIN Sports, on YouTube, around the globe. Big thanks once again to Gerry Armstrong.
absolutely.
Great guest. And
Stay safe, everyone.
we'll see you tomorrow.